From flight number 828 being a clever reference to a biblical verse, to the Omega Sapphire's interesting connection to King Tutankhamun, here are manifest biblical and mythological Easter eggs explained. One thing viewers often wonder is, why the heck does the number 828 keep popping up? Alright, let's break it down. That magic number 828 isn't just any old random combination of digits. No, it's a clever nod to a specific Bible verse. And that's where things get really interesting. A clever observer pointed out that you can actually read 828 as 8:28. And guess what? That lines up with Romans 8:28, a Bible verse that's oh so relevant to the show's plot. The most commonly agreed translation of Romans 8:28 goes something like this. And we all know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Suddenly, the symbolism becomes about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. The passengers of Flight 828 are being called according to God's purpose, which is all about selflessly helping others. It's like a core principle of true Christianity, right there in the show. And hey, the writers really want you to make that connection. They're not messing around. Just take a look at Michaela's mother's custom-made pillow, proudly displaying that very Bible verse. Now, armed with this insider info, it's pretty hard to brush it all off as mere coincidence. But here's the real kicker. This Easter egg might have a lot of hidden meaning for the entire show. Get this, the show could be seen as an allegory for Jesus Christ. Yep, one of the most iconic promises made by God to His followers is the gift of eternal life. In the book of John, verse 10, 27 through 28, it says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand." Now, check this out. That verse contains 2/3 of the magic number we've been talking about. Coincidence? I think not. Now, here's where it gets uncanny. This verse speaks of all those who worship God, listen to His voice, and live beyond death thanks to eternal life. Certain characters who fulfill their callings actually live past their supposed death date, while those who fail to fulfill their callings mysteriously meet their demise. But wait, let's zoom in on a specific character who embodies this phenomenon. Enter Zeke Landon, played by the talented Matt Long. This guy not only manages to survive his death date by fulfilling his calling, but he goes a step further. Just like Jesus is said to have sacrificed himself for the sake of mankind, Zeke also makes the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. And just like Jesus, Zach is brought back from the dead after fulfilling his calling. So, if you're watching Manifest, you better keep an eye out for these hidden connections, because they're actually hidden in plain sight. I mean, let's have a closer look at the names of the characters for proof. Take Olive, for example. She literally acts as the olive branch of peace in the group. Just like her mom Grace, she's the one who keeps the family's moral compass in check. She's always there as a supportive shoulder to lean on and a sharp mind to figure things out. But did you know, in ancient times, victors would wear olive wreaths, so Olive's name could be synonymous with winning. And boy, our group could definitely use all the help they can get. Another name that might give us some hints is Eden. Let's talk about the Stone family's miracle baby. She was born after Ben's return, and quickly became the center of attention. But then, that troublesome Angelina kidnapped her, and kept her captive for 2 whole years. Now, the name Eden, aside from being the place where Adam and Eve lived before getting kicked out, actually means delight. And let me tell you, this girl is an absolute delight. She's taken everything that's been thrown at her in stride. Just like the 828ers, Eden has her own callings and will continue to be at risk. But hey, she might just end up being one of the last ones standing when all is said and done. And while we're at it, let's take a look at the Easter egg behind the name Saanvi. Now, Saanvi is a fascinating character. She's a woman of science who balances her analytical side with her emotions. She's incredibly brilliant and motivated, and when it comes to protecting her chosen family, she can be downright lethal. In the Bible, Sanvi was one of 3 angels sent to shield infants and parents from the demon Lilith. It's interesting to analyze which aspect of her personality is most crucial in the second part, and her name's meaning might just be hinting to us about her storyline. Now, character names aren't the only Easter eggs in Manifest. There's also some interesting references to Noah's Ark. You see, Eureka's investigation into the tailfin led Sanvi and the gang to uncover a crazy connection between the Callings and Noah's Ark. And get this, they found a piece of volcano spit driftwood that had traces of sapphire. The same stuff found on all the disappearing objects. Talk about mind-blowing. Apparently, the divine consciousness in Manifest made it possible for Noah's Ark to survive that epic flood and endure 40 days and 40 nights. It's like Flight A28's disappearance in 2013 and Al-Zura's ship vanishing in the 16th century. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. The show's exploration of Noah's Ark finally shed some light on one of Manifest's biggest mysteries. Remember those visions of a peacock that characters like Ben have been having since Season 1? Well, turns out the peacock is a symbol of resurrection. Those callings might have been hinting that the passengers were resurrected by the divine consciousness. And get this, that peacock they saw might have actually shared their experiences. And guess what? They found peacock DNA on that piece of driftwood. So it seems like the animals on Noah's Ark, just like the passengers and folks on Al-Zura's ship, might have had their own callings and death dates to deal with. The whole Noah's Ark saga is seriously crucial to the storyline. Now, the passengers know that their death date lines up with a volcanic apocalypse. It took them a while to realize how high the stakes were. But the connection to Noah's Ark should have been an early clue. It looks like the Flight A28 gang's mission to stop the eruption of Mount Ararat is like a modern-day replay of Noah's Ark facing the Great Flood. I gotta give props to the writers for that. How do you even think of such a cool connection? It seems like the Manifest scripts are never short of super cool Easter eggs like this. The show also makes sneaky references to mythical figures like the Oracle of Delphi. According to Olive's research, it seems like the Oracle of Delphi also had a fancy Omega Sapphire. This oracle, known as Pythia, was like a rock star back in ancient Greece, serving as a priestess of Apollo, the Greek god of music and dance. Now, Pythia was a fortune teller in the Temple of Apollo. Folks would roll up to her shrine, asking all sorts of questions about their destinies. It was believed that she had some kind of magical powers that let her predict the future like a boss. Now, Season 4 of Manifest drops some truth bombs. They say that the Oracle's powers came from one of those legendary Omega Sapphires. Olive spilled the beans to TJ, saying that this shiny rock gave her some seriously mind-blowing abilities. We don't know the full extent of what she could do, but it's possible that her visions were like these epic callings that she could create by tapping into the Sapphire's godly essence. All this Oracle of Delphi stuff really helped the passengers understand how Angelina could work her own calling. Using the stolen Omega Sapphire she swiped from Egan. Crazy, right? And you know what? The Omega Sapphires have another hidden connection with the ancient mythology of King Tutankhamun. You see, when Olive was chatting with Zeke about those fancy Omega Sapphires and where they came from, she mentioned that they supposedly came from an Egyptian quarry. She didn't spill all the deets, but there was this article on her computer screen that showed some juicy historical insights. According to that article, one of those Omega Sapphires was actually a hot commodity for none other than King Tutankhamun himself. So, get this. What they found in his tomb made it clear that he was worshipped like a god by the Egyptians. But here's the kicker. In Manifest, it seems like the king was totally keen on becoming an actual godlike being. According to the article, this pharaoh fella somehow got it into his head that the big man upstairs stashed a precious stone somewhere in the Nile Valley, just so us humans could stumble upon it. And you won't believe it, he actually had a whole quarry set up in the Nile Valley to dig up that Omega Sapphire. But here's the bummer, he never actually found it during his reign. Now that's some insane stuff. And honestly, it explains a lot of the show's storyline. It just goes to show that fans should watch this show with a lot of attention, because you might blink and miss a super important Easter egg. So, from the Omega Sapphires being linked to the ancient king of Egypt, to the reason why the number 828 keeps showing up on screen, these were Manifest's biblical and mythological Easter eggs explained.